Welcome, everybody. This is the GoatCast podcast, and I'm CW. And today we have another NBA hot take, and this time it revolves around Kevin Durant and the blockbuster trade the Phoenix Suns just made for Bradley Beal. If you've been living under a rock, the Phoenix Suns traded Chris Paul, Landry Shamet, and I believe a 2024 first round pick for Bradley Beal from the Washington Wizards. Of course, the Wizards have been shopping Bradley Beal this offseason, and the Suns were the takers. And this is a classic case of fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. We've seen this from Kevin Durant before, where he goes to a big time team. He gets two big time players, and the world goes crazy. Media goes crazy. The fans go crazy. Kevin Durant is going to win another ring. Look at Brooklyn. Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, and James Harden were there. So that didn't work. Of course, we had COVID, and the NBA laid out their rules and regulations, and the players were to follow suit. Some players didn't, so it kind of ruined part of the Brooklyn Nets, let's say, seasons during that time. I will say the Brooklyn Nets were a tip of a sneaker away from defeating the Milwaukee Bucks in the 2021 NBA playoffs and going on to play the Atlanta Hawks, which I'm still baffled how they got that far, but all signs lead to the Brooklyn Nets defeating the Atlanta Hawks and going to the NBA Finals to take on the Phoenix Suns, ironically. But that didn't happen, and the Brooklyn Nets, with the trio of Kyrie Irving, Kevin Durant, and James Harden, or if you want to throw in Ben Simmons, who came in and disappointed as everyone knew he would, they were truly the definition of bust. They had a phenomenal team. They had, when they brought in Kevin Durant and Kyrie, they got Patty Mills, they got LaMarcus Aldridge coming back from retirement. They had Bruce Brown. I mean, the list goes on. They had a squad tailor-made to go far in the playoffs and to go far in the regular season, to be a top-tier Eastern Conference team. It never fleshed out, and eventually almost every part of that Brooklyn Nets team is now dispersed somewhere throughout the league. And I'm just not sure what the Phoenix Suns are thinking, taking on the incredibly horrible contract that Bradley Beal brings to this team. I mean, he's slated for $50 million over the course of the next 4 years. He's about to enter his 30s. Beal is a solid scorer, but he's not a great defender. That's what the Phoenix Suns desperately need, I believe. Now they have to look for a new point guard, which, I mean, Chris Paul is long in the tooth. We get it. His ring aspirations are probably over. Probably do a video on that at some point, the sad story of playoff Chris Paul. But anyways, the Phoenix Suns, in my opinion, needed to get a little younger, needed to get pieces that complemented Booker and Durant, who were plenty on the offensive end, but they just needed something or some people on the defensive end to really give them that boost. I mean, in all honesty, the Phoenix Suns were the only team that I thought played the Denver Nuggets well throughout these NBA playoffs. They're the only team that beat that Denver Nugget championship team more than once. They beat them twice. So it's not as if the Phoenix Suns are bad or were bad. The thing they don't need more of is scoring. What they need is tough defense, a solid big man, and a solid point guard to kind of be a general on the court for those guys. I mean, we've seen that KD can play in a system. When he was with the Golden State Warriors, Steve Kerr has a certain style, a certain system, a lot of ball movement, cuts, a lot of screens. It freed up Kevin Durant so much that he became a complementary piece instead of the go-to guy. Even though he was the back-to-back finals MVP of those years with the Golden State Warriors when they won in 2017 and 2018. But a lot of that was due to the Golden State style where teams couldn't double team because you had Steph Curry, you had Klay Thompson, you had Kevin Durant. How can you double team when you have three guys that are marksmen from the outside and pretty much marksmen from the mid-range for the most part? So there was no way that defenses could slack off of any of those guys. So, I mean, he was in the perfect place for him to really complement a solid team. Therein lies the problem with Kevin Durant. For all the greatness that Kevin Durant has done, and he's done a lot of great things, and he is one of the greatest players in the NBA. At least he's one of the greatest scorers the NBA has ever seen. But, and this is my opinion, and this is what my hot takes are, opinion pieces of how I feel about certain players and certain teams. Kevin Durant is not an alpha. He's just not. He's not a Michael Jordan. He's not a Kobe Bryant. He's not a LeBron James. Those guys are the de facto leaders of their team. Even though we've seen Kevin Durant take over games, he's not the guy that's going to get in his team's face, get them going, get them ready. He's just not the alpha. Even Steph Curry, for those Golden State Warriors, he is their de facto leader. And when Kevin Durant has tried to be that, he's failed much more than he's succeeded. And you can point out the OKC Thunder, you can point out the Brooklyn Nets. But from my vantage point, Booker kind of controlled those games, even though Durant kind of facilitated some for the most part in those victories over the Denver Nuggets in this past NBA playoffs. It felt like Booker was the one that was taking control of these games, and KD was a little bit in the backseat, but he was the one that was kind of making things happen. But I still don't sense that leadership, that alpha dog, that those three players I just named, even on OKC, we got a sense that Russell Westbrook was the one kind of running that team while Kevin Durant was the complementary piece. He was the go-to guy, but was he the one that was leading that team? And in Brooklyn, it was more so because of the circumstances. Kyrie barely played together with Kevin Durant. James Harden, he had his time in Brooklyn and did well, but Kevin Durant just knew he had to take over. He had a solid team around him where he just had to put on his hard hat and go to work, and everyone else would figure it out from that point. So to me, it did make sense for Kevin Durant to go to the Phoenix Suns with Chris Paul at the helm because Chris Paul has shown he's a bona fide leader. But unfortunately, he was just a little too old, and his track record in the playoffs was injury after injury, and it showed his head again this year. So I thought Kevin Durant going to the Phoenix Suns made sense with Chris Paul because Chris Paul could lead him, and Chris Paul now had two complementary pieces in Devin Booker and Kevin Durant, and now the Phoenix Suns look like a team that it would be hard for teams in the playoffs to beat because they had veteranship. They had guys that have been there. They had a little bit of youth, a guy that could score, and a true leader. Now with Bradley Beal, to circle back around to that, I guess we'll have to wait and see what happens in free agency and how they make up this team. Now I'm hearing rumors that DeAndre Ayton is on the chopping block, and I think that he's a big reason why Phoenix Suns would not win a championship. He's a big man that does not play big. He's a big man that just seems to not have the it factor when it comes to playing against other solid big men. I mean, we saw him play okay against Anthony Davis during those 2021 playoffs, but AD was hurt near the end of it. And when AD was actually semi healthy during that series, he ate. Well, Aiden ate also 88, but I mean, 80's on a different level. But still, when we saw Giannis and Aiden in that NBA Finals, Giannis just, it was pure barbecue chicken, as Shaq would say. He's not the guy for them. They need to find a big that's going to be rugged and tough down low, beat up on guys like Jokic, beat up on guys like AD, and just be a dog throughout the series or throughout the games, throughout the season. Let those three players score and you do all the dirty work. But Aiton's not that guy. So if they even want to sniff a title, Ayton has to go. But they have to bring something back. Everything that Phoenix does moving forward has to complement what they have. They can't just throw guys out there with KD, Bradley Beal, and Devin Booker and think, hey, this is a championship team. They have to construct it in a certain manner because KD is just not the alpha. Booker, we have to wait and see. He's still young, but he's getting older as well. And is he that guy? Can he be that breakout player that can take over during games, that can be the alpha and just know what to do on both ends of the floor to will a team to victory? Is he that guy? I'm not sure. And Bradley Beal, I mean, he can score and he can score well, but that huge contract that Washington somehow finessed back to the Phoenix Suns, it's going to be really interesting. But I don't think Kevin Durant is going to win another ring, not with these Phoenix Suns and with him being 34 years old, unless he goes to an already contender that's already built to win the championship in these coming years. I'm thinking it's two, and that's it for KD. Now I'm asking you guys, will 2 rings bring down his legacy? Will that hurt or harm what Kevin Durant has done for this league, especially since those only 2 rings came from a team that had already won rings, was already built to win rings, but added him just to be the icing on the cake. But from my perspective right now, Phoenix Suns, they're gambling hard. They're pulling a Brooklyn 2.0. Brooklyn has tried this twice and failed. They tried it with the Paul Pierce, Kevin Garnett, Darren Williams Brooklyn Nets. They tried it with this KD, Kyrie, James Harden Brooklyn Nets. So are the Phoenix Suns trending in the same vein as the Brooklyn Nets? I think we'll see what happens this season, but I think that Kevin Durant, he's just not that dog. And Phoenix isn't built to complement his style and what he can do. But that's just my opinion. I may be wrong. What do you guys think? And if you want to ascend to GOAT status, like number 23, whichever side of the fence you're on, LeBron, MJ, please like and subscribe. It only helps the channel. And I will be back with more hot takes coming up in the next few weeks. And hope you guys enjoy this content. I will be back soon with some more. And I'll see you guys soon. Thank you.